Egypt, one of the oldest civilizations with the most prolific history. For thousands of years, it was always standing along the Nile, until one day, the strangest visitors ever came from the sea. Who were they and why did they attack? To understand that, we first need to understand Egypt itself. People began setting along the Nile in 6000 BC. Well, roughly. Mostly because it was one of the most livable and fruitful places in northeastern Africa at the time. And eventually, they naturally grew. More villages, more farming, more everything. And at first, there wasn't really a single name or ruler, just scattered communities. Probably arguing over who had a better foundation or better mud bricks. Eventually, things got kind of messy. Civil wars, power struggles, and the usual ancient drama. Until around 3100 BC, when Egypt was finally unified under one ruler. And that's what's called the Great Unification. From that point, rulers were known as pharaohs, which kind of sounds cooler than just king. I mean, it's not just the name, they became divine rulers and were seen as living gods, which is quite a flex, to be honest. About 500 years later, they started building the pyramids. Massive, mysterious, you know the conspiracies. But oddly enough, the name Egypt wouldn't even appear until around 500 BC, which is 2500 years after the unification. And throughout it all, Egypt was trading, chatting, doing everything with nearby civilizations. They even battled with a bunch of civilizations too. And that's basically Egypt in a nutshell. And then, around 1200 BC, they battled something very strange. They were attacked by the mysterious sea peoples, who appeared out of nowhere, literally, and they almost broke the whole thing. And yes, it's sea peoples, with an S, because we're talking about multiple ethnic or tribal groups, not just one unified group of people. Now, who were they? The sea peoples showed up during the reign of Pharaoh Ramses III, and let's just say Egypt wasn't really ready. Well, Egypt wasn't even named Egypt back then, but we'll just carry on. Oh, right, sorry. I gotta show this to you. The coolest ship the sea peoples used on their venture to Egypt. The subscribe ship. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, click on that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. Now, alright, back to the video. In ancient Egyptian records, such as the inscriptions of Ramses III, the Egyptians didn't really name a single group, but they rather listed out several invading tribes, for example, Shurdan, Shakalesh, Luka, Pelesit, Denyen, and Checker. No one really knows how they all came to an alliance, but they just moved and attacked as a group. They seemed to appear out of nowhere, sailing in with strange ships, wielding just odd weapons, wearing unfamiliar clothing, and speaking languages the Egyptians didn't really understand. Ramses fought them off in what became one of the largest and most desperate battles of his reign. The invasion came both by land and sea, and Egyptian records describe naval ambushes, fierce combat, and strange enemies swarming the Nile Delta. Ramses personally claimed victory, carving the story into temple walls like a warning to future invaders. But to this day, it's all still kinda vague. At least for the Egyptians, the sea peoples were something like you've never seen before. Pretty much like aliens. And that's all we've got. They likely weren't working under one single leader, more like a wave of chaos, fleeing collapsed homelands and just looking for new territory to raid coastal regions and disrupt ancient structures. They were crazy. Historians do suspect that they came from places like Greece and the Western Anatolia. If that's true, they would have had to sail hundreds or even thousands of kilometers across the Aegean and Eastern Mediterranean, and they would have passed coastal stops like Cyprus and the Levant before reaching the Nile Delta in northern Egypt. Absolute units and mad lads. So yeah, there you have it. It all resulted in chaos. Egypt barely survived, and the sea peoples, still a mystery. No one knows what became of them. Some may have settled in nearby lands, and others just vanished from history as mysteriously as they arrived. Their origins, their motives, their fate, still one of history's greatest question marks. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.